Hello, everyone. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we are back. I am Tony, and this is Ange, and we run the Back to the Future, the musical fans Facebook group and social media accounts. Our Facebook group now has over 5,000 members. You can also check us out on Instagram and X, and you can view all our past interviews on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other popular podcasting platforms. But today we are joined by Elliott Evans, who plays Alt Marty in the West End at the Adelphi Theatre. Elliott, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Of
No worries. Yeah, thanks for giving us some time to chat.
course.
How's your week been so far? What have you been up to?
Oh, what I've been up to. I had a couple of days off actually at the start of this week, which is a rarity for me. I feel like I don't uh I booked a lot of my holiday a while back, so I think it was nice to have a couple of days this week. But yeah, it's been all right. Yeah, just busy with cast change and everything happening. So yeah, it's a busy time, but it's exciting.
Excellent. We will definitely get into that a little bit later in this interview. Obviously, we want to talk to you today about what it's like being alternate Marty McFly and your regular ensemble track in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
But we always start off our interviews asking, going right back, where did it all begin? What was your path into musical theatre and what inspired you to become a performer in the first place?
Yeah. So I actually started musical theatre a lot later. So I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I have been brought up in sort of a musical household, but not really musical theatre as such, I guess. And I've always sort of enjoyed playing piano, sort of following in my dad's footsteps. He's a piano player, and I never really thought about singing, never really thought about dancing. That was never something that appealed to me. My sister danced a lot when she was younger as well, and I always used to be like, yeah, that's not for me. And then I hit about, I think I did my GCSEs, and my mum and dad basically, I did, as I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mum and dad kind of pushed me into a BTEC course, which was a 2 year course in musical theatre. And I was like, all right, let's give it a go. Let's see what it's about. And that's when I think I was 16 then. And yeah, from there, I mean, I did the 2 years and I guess I started to fall in love with it. It's such an outlet. Do you know what I mean? It's such a lovely way to just sort of express how you feel, um, and I just think I really enjoyed that, and being able to do that in a safe environment. And yeah, and then I went on to train at the Erdang Academy, which was a 3 year course, which I absolutely loved. Obviously, lockdown happened over that time, which did affect things here and there, but overall I loved it. And then graduated Erdang, and then I started working. But yeah, I found such a love for it
Yeah.
over sort of the past.
Was there any
Yeah,
particular show that you feel like inspired you or caught your imagination early on that convinced you, yeah, maybe I want to do that?
I started when I started my BTEC course. That was when I sort of first, I guess, started listening to musical theatre. And Dear Evan Hansen was around at that time, and I feel like that was a big one that sort of, I mean, everyone was singing it when it first sort of came about. Everyone was listening to it, and yeah, that's an album that I think I definitely listened to a lot. I remember my first singing teacher at the BTEC course as well. She gave me a lot of Kinky Boots material to sing, and that was, yeah, I feel like that sort of rocky poppy sort of stuff, really, I loved singing that sort of stuff. Yeah, I just found it really enjoyable, I guess.
Elliot, we are aware that you were had quite a pivotal role in your year 11 school play, I believe. Can you tell
Right.
us about that? We've got quite a nice photograph of you.
Is it Joseph?
Yeah.
He's a
One of your
nightmare.
family members has provided us with a lovely photograph, which, with your consent, we will put up for the
Yeah,
interview.
of course, that's fine.
How was that?
Joseph, that was my first, really, that was my first like musical. Um, just before I obviously then went to do my BTEC. Um, oh gosh, that was crazy. It was. um, I remember going up for it and being like, let's just have some fun. Like, I'm not going to take this too seriously. I think at the time I was such a different person back then. And I think that I was very much just like, I was just like, oh, let's just do it and just see how it goes, to be honest. Joseph's fun. Getting to do it. I mean, even as a school play, it was fun to do. Um, yeah, there was obviously I hadn't really trained much in singing, so some of it is awful.
Oh, if
um,
only we'd been sent videos.
have you been sent videos? Fantastic. Oh, you haven't?
Just photos. Yeah, just a photo.
Just photos. There's a video of me doing. I love a riff. I love singing a little riff. And there was I think it was on the last night. My breath control was awful, and I was trying to at the end of Close Every Door to Me. I think I ended up doing this like little like Beyonce riff, and it was honestly the worst thing. There's footage of it somewhere. I'll have to send it to you at some point. But yeah, yeah. I kind of forgot about that happening. To be fair.
Of course, your family are massive fans of you and of the show.
Awesome,
They always love to drop in a hashtag Marty Monday whenever.
oh, they love it. They love it. Honestly, they have seen the show countless amount of times. Bless them. Yeah, very supportive.
Yeah, Team Evans did let us know that they've got a very early memory of you playing Easy on the piano, relying on
Yeah,
Easy.
that was my first ever song I learned to play on the piano.
They knew from early on that you were gonna destined for great things.
Bless them.
Yeah, great. All of our members were really excited when the cast announcement was made last year, and they realised that you were going to be not only in Back to the Future but also Alternate Marty McFly, because they already knew you from Eugenius at the Turbine Theatre.
Right. Yeah.
Tell us about that show. How did you get into that role, and what was it like performing in that?
Eugenius I had a blast for 3 months. I think it was about 4 months. I had spoken to the director of the show because I knew her beforehand, and I was like, I saw that Eugenius was. I remember actually being sat in a coffee shop and seeing the post go out, and Paul Taylor Mills, who produced it, him posting about it, and I was like, oh my god, it's coming back after lockdown. It's coming back. I had always said I'd love to play that role and do it, and it was a really quick casting process. I went into the room, I sang some of the material, did a couple of scenes, then I sent some self-tapes off to sort of get like approved, and then I got the role. So it was a very quick, it was a turnaround maybe in a week. And then the week after that, I think we started rehearsals. So it was literally like that. But it was very surreal, I think, because it was my first job really. Like, you know, I'd done a couple of things before that, but it was my first sort of lead role in a musical. And I love singing. Like, all of that stuff is very my thing. The poppy, rocky, high, belty stuff. And Eugenius was that, and it is that. That's all it is. Yeah, honestly, I had a blast. It was a great 3 months. Great to work. The people that I worked with as well were fantastic. So yeah, I had a really good time. It was great.
Looked fun show. I was gutted to miss that one. I never got to see it.
It was, yeah, it was. It's interesting, like, you know, seeing what they had done with it at the other palace when it first originated, and then what they then did with it at the Turbine. But it's also funny because Rob Houchin, who played it before, I sort of started to look up to him when I was training. So then getting to do that was such a surreal moment for me, because I was like, oh my god, like, you know, Rob Houchin had done this role and now I'm getting to do it. Like, it was really, really cool. But yeah.
Thank you, Elliott. We're going to get on now to your journey to Hill Valley. When did that begin for you?
So I had actually auditioned for it the previous year to me getting it. So not last year, but the year before. So I had gone in for it, and if I'm honest, I didn't really know. I'd seen Back to the Future, didn't really know what the musical was about, what any of it. Like, I got some of the material through, and I was like, all right, let's have a sing of it, I guess. Let's have a bash of it. I hadn't heard any of the stuff before. And it was quite a long process the first year that I was in for it. I think it was I was sort of in and out of auditions for it over maybe a couple of months, maybe a few months, and I got to the finals and I didn't get it. Which at the time, I think I just graduated. I was it was my first sort of like West End job that I was getting seen for, and I was really gutted, I think. And I just thought, I was like, this is so me. Like, this is getting to sing all the stuff, getting, all the material they had given me. I was like, oh my God, this is like such a me role, such a me show. Um, so it definitely knocked me a little bit. But I remember being like there and then, I remember saying to myself, but it's going to come back round. It's going to come back round, and I'll be in a different position then. So then the following year then came round, and I got brought back in for it. And it's so interesting because it was a similar sort of process. It was over the course of maybe a month and a half ish, maybe. Yeah, and I was brought in, did the finals again, just like I did the first year, and I just felt ready. I feel like the year previous, although I felt ready at the time, I think that having had a year to sort of, I guess, grow as a person, grow as a performer, do a show like Eugenius as well to gain more experience. I think that when I had then gotten the call to say that I'd gotten the job, I was like, this feels right. And it feels right that I'm getting it now and doing it now. Because I don't think I would have been ready the year before. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that was sort of my journey into it, I guess. I'd gotten a chance in between to work with Rich Fitch, who was our associate director. And he, yeah, I'd gotten, as I say, I got an opportunity to work with him a bit closer in another job, which was great sort of in between that, because I got to know him a little bit, and we got chatting about, things Back to the Future and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah.
What's your go-to audition song? I know you probably would have done a lot of show material, but what's your go-to song?
A song that I started singing at the end of drama school. It's called "Good Kid" from The Lightning Thief. It's I think it's actually just been announced that it's going to the other palace towards the end of the year. And it's yeah, it's a good song. It's once again rocky poppy, like teenage angst, like that kind of like song. And I've taken that for a fair few auditions because I think it just shows what they need to see.
Yeah, all right.
So yeah, I'd say that's my, if I had to pick one, that would be probably my go-to.
And did you know you were going in for Alt Marty like the second time round, or?
So basically how different shows do it differently. With Back to the Future, they brought me in for just cover Marty. So it wasn't really specified. I just knew that they were seeing me for cover. And also at the time that we were auditioning, I didn't know who from the current cast at the time was leaving and all things like that. So I guess I didn't really assume anything. But I remember I got the call during rehearsals for Eugenius from my agent to tell me that I'd gotten it. And he told me that I got alternate. And honestly, I was just gobsmacked because I just didn't think, I just didn't think that would happen and that I would get that. So it was quite a surreal moment.
Team Evans would have been absolutely thrilled as well.
Bless them. Yeah. They were. I remember calling them actually, like, I think 10 minutes after that, I'd FaceTimed my mum and dad, FaceTimed my sister. We were all in a chat together, and then I told them. Yeah, crazy. Then I went for a drink, went to the pub.
Has to be done.
Of course.
How did you find the skateboarding? Could you already skateboard, or did you?
Honestly, that was the one thing that I was nervous about because I had tried to skateboard as a kid and just not for me. But interestingly, I think that I in rehearsals I was just always on it. I was like, I have to learn how to use this thing. And yeah, I was really nervous about it, I can't lie, at the start. I thought that was going to cost me my job. I was going to be like, he can't skateboard, so he's done. Yeah. But yeah, obviously got to grips with it. And I mean, now it's fine. I say that I haven't dropped it yet, touch wood.
Don't jinx it. No.
Yeah, I know.
And how do you mentioned earlier you play piano? Can you play guitar? Have you
Yeah,
learned that? Is that any good?
yeah, I've recently bought myself a guitar, probably off the back of Johnny Be Good actually, and doing that stuff. Although I'm miming it in the show. Can I say that? Well, I don't know if I can say
Yeah,
that actually. It's yeah. I think that over time I've gone. It's such a good instrument to learn how to play. I can play piano, and I've played that forever. So I think that then trying to learn another instrument is so useful. And I write music as well, so it's just so good to be able to, I guess, use those instruments. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so let's talk about, you talked about your journey. Let's talk about your debut performance now.
Ooh.
It was a rather unplanned debut. Obviously, we knew you were Alternate Marty. We got a date for when we knew you would be performing.
Yeah.
And we were all there for the cast change. And Bob Gale was there, and Bob came out of the theatre to Ange and I on Maiden Lane and like whispered to us like, Elliott's going on for Marty. And we
Oh,
were
did he?
Well, we were like surprised because we weren't expecting it, but then my mind starts going thinking, well, we love to like post when people are, making their debuts. I'd been really lazy, a bit of a slacker, and hadn't prepared all the graphics in advance because I didn't need to. I thought you're going
Right.
on the following Monday, so I was like laptop out, Maiden Lane, hastily like
Oh, no way.
past them. And so we grabbed you and we're like, oh, amazing, congratulations. Like, are you okay with us posting? Is like, how are you feeling?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was just, for us, it felt like, a rush of adrenaline and it was chaos.
Sure.
But how did it feel for you? Like, when did you find out that you would be going on, and like what starts going through your mind?
So I've been lucky for the rehearsals because myself and Connor, who's second cover, because we obviously Ben was staying on for Marty, so it just meant for me I got to do a lot of Marty for the rehearsals, just because obviously Ben had he was already doing it, so it just meant that they could get me sort of ready quicker, I guess, for Marty, which was great. I was very lucky to have been able to have done that. I got a call from my company manager I think it must have been about 5 o'clock the previous day. So I did know the day before. I think that it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like, weirdly, I was more nervous for the first Monday show, but I think it's because I knew I was going on the Monday. Whereas getting that call, I was just kind of like, I've got to go on and I've got to do it, and that's that. Like, I don't have those few more days to prepare. I've just got to go and do it. So yeah, we went in. It meant that we just all had to go in earlier on the Wednesday, and we had a dress run already planned anyway. But it just meant that they had to schedule in a lot more stuff to sort of tech, a lot more scenes that I hadn't done. Tech wise, just to get me ready for opening night. The dress run was a godsend that I got to do it because it was chaos. I just think with Marty, he just doesn't stop. He's constantly on the go. You've got to be so aware of your surroundings, where you go, even just going down, where you're going on and off stage. And yeah, that I remember that dress run. Yeah, I think a lot of things happened. I think I remember the punch before Something About That Boy in that scene. Just before he goes, hey Biff, your shoes untied. I said, hey George, your shoes untied. And people in the audience giggled, and I was like, oh my God, how have you just done that? And then I was like, Biff. It was funny, but just silly things like that I was like, God. But yeah, weirdly, for that opening show, I didn't feel that nervous, but I think it was because I just knew I had to go and do it. Whereas it got to the Monday and I was like, oh my God, I've already done it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was chaos, but I was very grateful that I got to open with the cast. I think that just having done a lot of the Marty stuff with the new cast in rehearsals, I think I was, yeah, I felt grateful to get to open like that. Do you know what I mean? Getting to do that.
Everyone was well behind you as well. You know, all the fans were there, and
Yeah.
it's always those shows are always good ones to be at because they get well attended by the fans
Yeah.
of the show that have seen it again and again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember that first Raw when I opened the door. That first night, it was crazy. I remember just being like, "Oh my God!" Uh, yeah.
Well, we were all very, very privileged to be there because it was a
Oh,
special night and it was,
it
yeah.
was. Yeah, it was great.
Good. Um, we did reach out to some of our members to see what questions they wanted to put you to. So we're going to be putting a few to you throughout this
Yeah.
interview. So one that we had is from Lucy and Matthew, both wanted to know the same regarding whether your portrayal of Marty has been inspired by any of the actors who've gone before you.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So the first time I watched Back to the Future was before I'd been in for it the first time. I'm trying to think if I was still. I don't know if I'd graduated yet, or maybe I'd just graduated. I can't remember. One or the other. And I watched Will Haswell play it the first time, and he was on. And I remember leaving the theatre going, he was sensational. And I remember just being like, he was absolutely fantastic. And if I'm honest, I just became a bit obsessed. I was just like, he was just so good. Like everything he did, how he just played it, how he was so chilled out on stage. And um, I mean, when I got to obviously meet him later on, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm actually getting to meet him and chat to him about Marty and about the show. And yeah, he was so lovely about it all as well. But yeah, I think that being alternate and watching a lot of my track in my ensemble role, I'm sort of in and around when Ben is on stage doing Marty. And I think that it's only natural that there's definitely little things here and there that I've sort of picked up on without knowing. Do you know what I mean? But it's because you're constantly tuning in. You're constantly, there's moments where you're watching scenes happen. And I think that it's hard, obviously, going on once a week. I think definitely there's been moments that's been informed by what Ben has done, I guess. But I think that I really wanted to just sort of have my own go at it, I guess.
Yeah.
And one of the first things my directors said to me when I got into rehearsals, they were just like, "We want you to be you, and then we'll add Marty on top," kind of thing. We'll add that Michael J. Fox mannerisms and blah blah blah. And I think that really resonated with me because I think I went into rehearsals being like, oh my God, they're going to be like, this has to be done like this. Whereas I felt very lucky that I got to just sort of do me, I guess, and find moments that I would, I guess, how I would act it. And then they, did the fine coating.
Yeah. That's something that's been echoed in some of our other interviews, and what's great about the creative team for this show, because they do allow that fluidity for their actors. Obviously, there's the touch points you've got to hit for those characters, but then do allow that fluidity, which is fantastic because we get to see a little bit of you.
Exactly. And I think that, I'm someone that I do have quite a lot of energy when I'm on stage, and I mean off stage as well, to be fair. I'm just quite an energetic person. And I've definitely chilled out a lot more in sort of the second half of sort of this contract. But I think that definitely when I opened, I was just ecstatic and I was just like, do you know what I mean? It's just because I was just like, oh my God, this is actually happening, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good stuff. Cheryl, you've touched on it there that you have progressed, like your role has as the years gone on. Cheryl wanted to know, is there anything specific that's different about your Marty from that very first show to now?
I think there's a lot of things that's different from what I've tried to sort of achieve, I guess, over the year. I think Marty's such a hard one because you don't have any time to think when you're on stage. You've just got to be so present and so there, because once again, he doesn't leave the stage ever, really. I think it's been a hard role to sort of work on because of that, I think. I think the biggest difference, in my opinion, from the beginning to now is, I think, just my energy on stage. I think the thing with Marty, when you watch the film, is he is such a cool kid, and he's just like, I don't really care. I'm just here and I'm just enjoying life. And he's obviously got his things that he wants to achieve, and the things with his family and stuff like that. But he's just, as a person, he's just very relaxed. And I think that that's something that I've really tried to work on over the past year, because, as I say, I had a lot of energy at the start. And I think I've really just tried to pull back and just try and sprinkle an essence of just like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Just there. I'm just singing the songs. I'm just having fun. Do you know what I mean?
But a chill, yeah.
Yeah, just really chilled out. I think there's moments here and there. There's a lot of acting choices that I've made different. And there's moments that I can put your mind to it where I've tried to do different dance moves here and there, like things like that. But yeah, I mean, although you can change some things up, you obviously still have your track that you have to, points that you have to hit, and place that you have to hit on stage. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's the biggest difference. I think my energy has definitely shifted.
When you're thinking about energy, I know lots of performers say like you feed off the audience as well. One of our members, Alison, was asking about like how can you tell like what the vibe of an audience is going to be like? Like at what point do you know?
when I'm on for Marty, I guess it's harder to gauge when in my ensemble track. I think when I'm on for Marty, I can definitely tell with the moments with Doc, because when Doc first comes out of that car and goes, "Great Scott," usually if the audience is going at that point, I'm like, yeah, they're like, here for this. I think it's such a cool moment when that car comes out and you see Doc for the first time. And yeah, I mean, it's difficult.
I guess every audience is different in different ways, I suppose, as well.
Exactly. And you have,
whether they laugh or whether they are fans of Back to the Future or whatever.
Exactly. And yeah, like, we have, I feel like George in that, in the first scene in the house, and when he does that laugh, you can tell if the audience kind of understands the movie reference of that and his character, or if they don't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you can really gauge that. I think that's definitely a moment.
Yeah, so I guess on the flip side, instead of the audience members, how Sam in our group was asking about like different actors playing Doc, and obviously you play alongside whoever is on, including Stephen was alt Doc up until recently. But do you find that shows very much depending on which alts and understudies are on as they're bringing themselves? Like, do you know that it's going to be a different show because of different?
Yeah. I personally definitely know in a great way, because I think that I've been lucky that all of the 4 docs that we had this year, I've got to do it with all of them, which has been great for me. I've loved being able to do that. I think that you definitely, it's creating that relationship, I think. And I think that I started off with Stephen, and obviously we had our Monday shows, and then over time, then when Ben was going on holiday, I was doing it more with Corey. And I think that you just start to, and then recently I've started doing it more with Lee. And I think that you just, as you build that relationship, you then start to understand how you play off each other and how you work with each other. And especially with Doc and Marty, because of the relationship they have and how they are with each other. I think what's so great about the different docs, I mean, I guess anyone in the show, but the different docs is they've all got such different energies and different ways that they played the doc, which is great. And I think that's what I've loved getting to do with them. Corey has such a big energy when he's on stage. and I know that I'm in for a crazy ride when I'm doing it with Corey, because he's just such an energy, and he's so lovable. When I've gotten to do it with Stephen, he's so like he plays Doc in such a just the way he sort of approached it, like with the character, and how we sort of have bonded with Marty and Doc from the start. Once again, I know the journey that we're going to go on together. And then, recently then getting to do it with Lee as well. Like Lee plays it in such a different way, sort of similar. I feel like he's taken essences of Roger and that kind of style of Doc. So I think that, obviously these are just all my opinions, but I think that it's so interesting, because I feel like from the start I'm like, right, this is the type of show as Marty and Doc we're going to have together this show. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is so much fun. And that's what I love. I think that's what I love about getting to do the show, because I feel like I'm always going to go on a different journey each time I'm on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so true for us as audience members. I get asked all the time by like work colleagues, friends, why'd you go all the time? Why'd you keep going seeing the same show? And it's not the same show. Oh. Every single show you see there'll be a little something that'll crack up for the audience, or different people on, and it's a different show every time.
And I think yeah, and I think that what's great about Back to the Future is it allows for that. There's a lot of shows, that, not that it's a bad thing at all, but there's a lot of shows that are very, this is how it's done and this is what it's like every night, which is great. But I think what's so nice about Back to the Future is it has that fluidity, as well as hitting the marks. It has that, it can allow for change, I guess.
Yeah. Next one's a question from Laura, and they wanted to know, what were you most nervous about coming into this show, and do you still get nervous about it now? Is there a moment in the show you're like, oh, that bit's coming up?
Yeah, not nervous, but when I mentioned about that line from the first opening night where I said, hey George, your shoes untied, in my head before that moment I always have to go, she said, get your meat hooks off of her, hey Biff, and I just have to run those lines in my head before it happens. I think that I for probably 9 months of the contract, I've been nervous when I've gone on. I think this sort of latter part, I have definitely chilled out, but I think it's just because the amount of times I've gotten to do it. Do you know what I mean? With as I say, because Marty's such a crazy role, I think that it just takes a lot of doing it to get comfortable. And I think I've just been lucky to have gotten to do it as much as I have. Yeah, I wouldn't say nervous is the right word anymore. I think I definitely just go out and just have fun with it and just enjoy it. But I've definitely been nervous a lot of times going out on that stage.
It doesn't show.
Thanks.
Karen Jackson asked this one, and we won't go into too much detail. But you want to know, several members wanted to know as well, that finale scene, how does it feel both physically and emotionally?
It's like going and doing Go Ape, really. Do you know what I mean? I think that it's a moment that I've kind of over time gotten so used to, that I think that coming towards the end of the contract, I will start to, I guess, enjoy it more, because as I say, it is a moment that I think it happens so quickly, and it's at the end of the show. And usually, me and Doc having, whoever's on for Doc is having a little conversation or singing some random tune. But yeah, I think it's a moment that I'll probably, I won't get an opportunity to do probably something like that potentially ever again on a stage. So I think that it's probably a moment that I'll later down the line look back on and go, I got to do that. Do you know what I mean? And I got to experience that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's it like emotionally? Because I love like looking at little kids' faces in the audience.
Oh my God, yeah.
I bet
yeah, for sure. Last night Ben was on last night, and I saw him wave. There was a little Marty in the audience, a little boy with the gilet on and with the denim jacket, and I saw Ben waving away, and I was just like, like that. That's why I think that's what's so nice about, once again, we're Back to the Future, that you've got the generation that know the film, but then there's a new generation that are starting to know the film and what that is because of the musical. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's just so nice getting to see that.
You've touched on this a couple of times, and you've mentioned that trying to enjoy this in the last few months. By the time this interview goes out, everyone will have already seen that the new cast has been announced, and they'll have already learned that unfortunately you'll be leaving us, you'll be leaving Elliott. Looking back over this past year, what's been like your most memorable highlight from working on the show?
If I'm completely honest, I think it's the people that I've gotten to work with. This is my first year-long contract that I've done, and it's a long time to do, a show for. And I think that a lot of the cast are a little bit older than me in general, which I think I've been able to then gain a lot of experience off of them because they've been in the position I've been in countless times, whereas this is my first time. I think that I've just created some amazing relationships with people on and off stage. And I just think that the biggest thing I think will be leaving that energy and leaving just not having that every day. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, it becomes your safe space, your safe place with everyone. And I think that we've been so lucky with our cast that we all get on as well as we do. And it probably shows on stage as well. Do you know what I mean? We just all have such a love for each other. And I think that overall, that's what I'll miss, and that's what I'll look back on.
And how great that you got to share the West End Live experience with all of those people.
Oh my God, honestly, like getting to do that with everyone, it was just once again, because everyone's so supportive, and we all rocked up, and we were all a team, and we were all like, let's go and smash this. And yeah, I think it's just, I feel very lucky that I've been able to experience such a great year with everyone. Yeah, for sure.
Sad times, you're going to be hugely missed, Elliott. We're going to talk a little bit about what's next for you. We've seen both you and Matthew Ives sharing a few little snippets on your social media about a project that you've got going.
This might come up.
What are you allowed to tell us? What can you share with us?
I'm not going to say too much just yet. Me and Matthew, I've written music for a fair bit of time. I am not a lyricist in the slightest. I'm not good with words. That's not my thing. But music I love, and I love writing music, and I love creating music. And me and Matt, we share a dressing room together, and we just bonded so well. He's like my older brother, and he always calls me his little brother. And I think that I chatted to him one day, and I said to him, I want to write a musical one day. And it's my dream that even it doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to even go on a stage. I just want to write something to say that that's mine, and I've created that. And he was like, let's do it then. And I was like, all right then. We started writing a musical a while back that was, we just came up with an idea, and it was set sort of in medieval times, and we were writing away, and we wrote a whole load of songs, and then we went, not sure about this. So then we came up with a new idea, which I'm not going to share just yet, but we have been writing for about 4 months. We're quite quick at just sort of like writing music, a lot of what we've written is awful, but out of the awful stuff comes the good stuff. Do you know what I mean? And we've just written a whole bunch of songs, and we, once again, because the cast are so lovely, we all sat down in a dressing room and sang our opening number. And just sort of, we're in the process of creating music, hearing people sing stuff. Matt has used our opening number. He has MC Swing project, which he runs, and we've used our opening number for that. So we got to stage it, we got to block it, we got to see it, and then we got to get opinions and see what people thought of it. And and make changes to it. So we're currently in the process of basically still writing, creating, and workshopping. But I think it's been having that as well as the show has been such a great thing to have in that building, because whenever we're not on stage, we're creating. And I think that it's such a, we've been lucky that we've found each other to be able to do that, because I think it's such a great outlet, music writing. So yeah, we're in the process of creating a musical, basically, long story short.
That is really exciting.
Which is very exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting.
We'll be first there if it does a workshop where we can come along and see
Fantastic.
it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Another little member question going in here, and again, talking about your future. Is there a bucket list of performers you'd love to work with? Have you got someone like you've looked up to the entire time who would be an aspirational? I'd love to work with them.
Someone I've always wanted to meet and I've looked up to, and I mean, if I got to work with them, fantastic. David Hunter. He's someone that I remember watching Kinky Boots at the Adelphi when I was in town, and I just think he's just fantastic, and I just think I remember watching him and going, I feel like you as a person are on stage. Like, you seem like a great person, just like a nice human. And funnily enough, Stephen, who is Alternate Doc, he worked with David in Waitress when they did it, and they're really good pals. And I remember saying to Stephen, I remember being like, oh, if you're ever around, just like invite me and we'll go for a coffee. Yeah, he's someone that I've definitely said, I'd love to meet him, but purely just because I just think he's a great performer, and just someone I guess I've looked up to for a few years.
Cool. I think we'll probably tag him in this when this interview goes out. Right, so we do this in some of our interviews. We've got a few 10 quick fire questions.
Okay.
So no need to think about them too much. Just give us your first answer, and try and keep the answer short and sweet, and don't go into. No need to justify your reasons for the answers. Just tell it like it is. So some of these are from our members as well. So Deborah says, apart from Marty, which other character would you love to play in Back to the Future the musical?
Jennifer.
And what's your biggest onstage cock up?
I slipped over with a Coke in my hand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Harry would like to know, what's your favorite song in the show?
What's my favorite song? Open the Number. Only a Matter of Time.
That's it. Do you have a pre-show ritual before going on stage?
I have to say the Marty Jennifer lines because I messed it up towards the start of the contract, and I have to say them because I'm worried I'm going to mess them up.
And what is your favorite line from the whole show?
A time machine? Doc, are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? That one.
Awesome. Which character from the show are you most like?
Ooh. That's a tricky one. Maybe probably a mix of Marty and George, somewhere in between.
Karen asked if you could go back in time, when would you go?
I would want to go all the way back to see dinosaurs.
Yeah, good answer. Cool. What's your favorite detail or little Easter egg in the show that most people don't notice?
Probably the clocks in Doc's lab changing throughout the show.
Most challenging scene to perform, like energetically, or however you want to take that?
Running around in Something About That Boy is quite a lot. Yeah.
Who are you going to miss the most?
Ooh, Who am I going to miss the most? Probably Matthew Ives and Patricia Wilkins. They're both in the cast. Yeah, probably.
What a bit of everyone.
But a bit, 100% a bit of everyone.
Oh, fantastic answers. Thank you so much, Elliott. We are sort of wrapping up towards the end of the interview now.
Yeah, of course.
We do ask everybody this. Why should people book a ticket and go and see Back to the Future the musical at the Adelphi?
I think that if you are or are not a musical theatre fan, I think that you're just able to go and watch some fun on stage. It's a musical that's not taken too seriously. It has so much joy and laughter, and the music's fantastic. And the amount of people that have come to stage door and have said, I've never seen a musical before and I loved this. Yeah, I just think you're in for a treat. I just think it's a good night out.
And that's it. That's all we've got on our questions for today. Thank you so much for giving up some of your time as you approach the end of this contract. We know you must be very busy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for the final shows this year.
All right.
But we know there will be lots of fans there to cheer you on, and there will be there.
Right.
The cast. Always a very emotional time, but obviously we're looking forward to seeing what you do next. But yeah, until then, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Everyone enjoys watching this and hearing all the answers that you've given. Cheers. Thanks, Elliott.
Thank you.